All right, well, let's commence. So I want to welcome everyone to this important town hall meeting, and it's intended to help each of us understand how the Small Business Administration can help us through this pandemic, COVID-19. It's disrupted all of our lives in so many ways, but none more so than businesses, and particularly small businesses. And it's that fabric of our community that keeps Rocky Mount thriving. David Ferris, the Rocky Mount Chamber of Commerce, and I have partnered on these teletown hall meetings with the goal of presenting key information that enables our understanding of the possibilities available to keep Rocky Mount in business. In addition, I'd like to thank Mark Froman for his help on this effort and for leading my Business and Economic Action Committee and continuing to find ways to support and educate our small business owners. This time, I'd like to give David Ferris an opportunity to provide some comments, and then we'll introduce our speaker today.
Thank you, Mayor, and I wish all of you the happiest of holidays and a Merry Christmas as well. You know, I want to thank the mayor and his staff for putting this together. This is important. This has been a very trying year, unlike anything our nation has seen in well over 100 years. We all expected a deep dive, that V curve, and a fairly quick recovery with a little maybe aftermath in the winter, and that's just not been the case. And we have really learned how to lean on and depend on the SBA. Without the SBA, as painful as this has been for all of us, I'm afraid it would have been much more disastrous than what we've seen. The SBA, with their resources, their knowledge, and their willingness, have truly made a difference. And I think the timing of this, as we're really in the depths of it, is important. So I look forward to hearing, Patrick, what you have to say and others. And I want to thank the SBA, and again, thank the mayor for having us join forces where we can help our community continue to grow and prosper. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, David. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our speaker. It's Patrick Rodriguez. He joined the North Carolina SBA District Office in 2014 and took over the Senior Area Manager position based out of Raleigh. Patrick assists business owners, lenders, and government contractors to access the SBA programs and services throughout 25 northeastern North Carolina counties. Previously, Patrick worked in the Los Angeles SBA District Office and prior as a senior congressional aide in Southern California. So we're honored to have you, Patrick, here, and we're honored to have the SBA, Patrick Rodriguez, with us here today. So Patrick, with that, I'll let you take the floor, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. And thanks to Judy Kay as well. She's been a great asset to the SBA. She recently joined our team in the North Carolina District Office, and I'd like to give Judy just a minute to introduce herself as well before we get started. Judy, do you want to do a short intro on what you're working on and where you're located?
I can. Thank you so much, Patrick and Mr. Mayor and Mr. Ferris. North Carolina is a series of communities built on a fiber of business, and nothing is more important than the impact that small businesses and their success have on individual communities. And I am very fortunate to be able to work with the SBA as an outreach and marketing specialist. I get a chance to go around and introduce myself to great folks and go to great places and get to know these business owners. And I can't think of anything better. What I have found on my visit to Rocky Mount, which was amazing, is that there is an energy around small and locally owned businesses there that is invigorating. And I don't think that the pandemic and anything else is going to stop that. I saw businesses working with other businesses to try to see what they could do to drive business in during this challenging time. That's what you want. You want that kind of collaboration, that kind of energy, that kind of belief in the future. And the SBA is just honored to be a part of that.
Thank you so much, Judy. I appreciate your time and gladly I'm glad that you're part of the SBA team now here in North Carolina. So looking forward to working with you in Rocky Mount and surrounding territories. So thanks again. So for myself, I cover 25 counties across the northeast part of the state, and like the mayor said, I work with small businesses directly. And right now, it's been a trying time for a lot of them. They were, early January, February. Some of these businesses were just launching, and those are the ones that I think that have been really, really decimated by the pandemic because they were not able to access the SBA programs as fully as businesses that were around in 2019. So we're really trying to come to grips and understand their needs as far as capital requirements, training in regards to keeping their employees and their customers safe. I know the SBA has a website, the sba.gov/disaster has a whole handbook for small businesses to learn from in order to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Annual safety checks for your employees, signage that you can put up for both your employees and your customers, checklists that your employees can follow to help lessen the spread, and also signage for your customers, so when they come in, they know that you are following the appropriate social distancing guidelines set forth by the city and by the county and state. And so there's a lot of helpful guidelines out there through the SBA, through the CDC, that a small business owner can go to make sure that they're taking the appropriate steps to keep themselves open and out of harm's way and out of any potential trouble by being negligent on that part. So hopefully by now, most small businesses know that the SBA.gov/disaster website has those guidebooks, and also the CDC has an excellent small business section that you can download and follow very easily. So I know recently, and it may just be by today or tomorrow, the NC Retool NC grant program opened back up last week, and I think it's going to close again very quickly within the next day or so. But if you're a small business in North Carolina and need money to help provide for PPE or help keep your doors open, the Retool NC grant, I believe, was still open as I checked yesterday, and I think it may be closing by today or tomorrow. So just make sure if you are on that, looking for that assistance, that you go there immediately and apply as soon as possible. So the other, overall, I was going to show a presentation, but I really think that if we just kind of talk, I think that would be a lot better as far as just conveying some of the things we're working on instead of having to read and look at a PowerPoint. Death by PowerPoint, I'm sure everybody right now is used to that. In the Army, we used to call that death by PowerPoint. And but what we think is important is that folks know that there are resources out there to help you pivot, to help you understand the changing marketplace, and to help understand what potential investors, potential lenders are looking for at this specific time in regards to COVID protocols, COVID questions. How are you being affected? How are your suppliers being affected, right? how has the reduction in revenue affected your bottom line regarding, your inventory and things like that, that small businesses need to know, and they need to relate that back to their investors or their lenders. And we can help them kind of walk through those questions that lenders have right now. So that's really important. So the SBA has 4 primary resource partners out there. We have the SCORE folks out there, like I know Mark Froman is out there probably watching, and he's a SCORE mentor in the Rocky Mount area, and he does a great job out there. And he's supported by the Raleigh SCORE chapter. So if you're in and around Raleigh or Rocky Mount, the Raleigh chapter is there to support you with one-on-one, tangible, real-world advice from business owners, from experienced business owners that have been in the industry, retail, manufacturing, banking. So all those resources are free and are paid for through your tax dollars. And so if you're looking to pivot, hey, I want to go on and start selling online. I need to ramp up my takeout menu, or I need to change my supplier because they're getting hammered over in California or New York or wherever they may be having to close down. They could help transition you into a new market, or help you transition with a new supplier, and give you some tips and tricks on how not to go awry. The other 2 big resource partners are the Women's Business Center, which is out of Raleigh, that covers Rocky Mount. We have a great resource there, Roberta McCullough, who's now kind of the lead over that, the Institute. And we have a new director there who just came in, and she's familiar with small business. She used to run the North Carolina Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and now she's the executive director. And her name escapes me right now, but I will remember it soon. And she is an amazing, I think she's an engineer or accountant by trade. So she's got a lot of valuable skills, and they help small businesses one-on-one as well, all paid for through your tax dollars. So like a lot of small businesses that are just thinking about starting, because we kind of know that during recessions, which I'm not sure we're in technically, but it kind of feels like one, that a lot of businesses get started during recessions. And I think, the cost of retail space is cheaper. Human capital is available. And so there's a lot of opportunity to start businesses. And so they can help you figure out if you should be a sole proprietor or an LLC or a S Corp or whatever, a partnership, and help you keep within those requirements with the state and local governments. So there's really valuable resources for those startups out there, and also startups looking for capital, because they also have a certified development financial institution, which is a CDFI that is a nonprofit lender attached to that Women's Business Center. And then finally, we have the largest of the resource partners, which is the Small Business Technology Development Center Network, which is throughout the state, co-located with all the local public universities, and they provide one-on-one business mentoring from startups all the way up to firms with 100+ employees. So for those larger businesses, but are still small, they have a great team that can help do HR audits. They have a program called Profit Sense that they run your financial statements through and help decipher some of your maybe less efficient activities and things that you may need to improve upon. But they can give you really solid pinpoint advice on how to scale and grow your business. And then last but not least, we have the Veterans Business Outreach Center, which is a great place down in Fayetteville that helps a lot of veterans coming out of Fort Bragg to start businesses. They are also statewide, but they have a lot of interest locally from just all the folks that are in that vicinity down there at Fort Bragg. So if you have any veterans in your neighborhood and come to you, I would definitely recommend referring them over to the Veterans Business Outreach Center. So with that, I would also like to just take a chance. I don't know if there's any questions that are in the chat, but if there are related to what we're talking about, I'd be glad to answer them. But I'd like to talk about our lenders, really, because they are a huge, they are our customer as well for the SBA. We face both the small business community and the lending community because lenders across the country participate in SBA loan programs by utilizing our guarantee, which is if you take a loan between, let's say, 1,000 and 150,000, the SBA program guarantees that at 85%. So that's a huge backstop to that lender in times like this, where there's a huge amount of risk. They now have a secondary source of repayment if something were to happen and that principal and interest couldn't be paid back. So if the loan is over 150 to 5 million, the guarantee is at 75%. So that's another backstop for the lenders as well. But the benefit to the borrower is that our terms, our SBA loan terms, are a lot longer and than a normal, typical, conventional bank loan. So where a bank may lend 3 years max, we'll go 3, 5, 7, up to 10 years for working capital. And that is a huge cash flow advantage to the borrower. With those lessened monthly payments, that gives them a lot of extra cash on hand to apply elsewhere in their business. Obviously, the interest that you're going to pay over the term will be more, but after the first 3 years of an SBA loan, you can prepay that with no penalty. So you could eventually pay off that loan in 5 years or 6 and not be penalized. So that's a great benefit. Plus the fees are almost knocked out. We have a very strict structure on which fees SBA lenders can charge borrowers, and the interest rates are at market rates right now. So they're really competitive. We're talking 4-5% interest rates on SBA loans, which is unheard of. And on some SBA loans, like on the real estate loans, they're even in the 3s. So it's a great time to invest if you have the ability to purchase real estate. The SBA's got 2 main loan programs. One is the 7A. Don't ask me why they named it that, but that's the term for the main loan program for SBA. And I think it's a section it was written under. But we also have the 504 loan, which primarily deals with real estate and large capital assets. And the value of those loans is they all go out for real estate and large assets. They go out to 25 and 30 years. So you're buying a building potentially with the 504 loan with minimal equity injection, around 10 to 15%. And the lender will take 50% of that loan, and our SBA CDCs will take 35% of that loan. And they'll do a 30-year term on that, and they'll end up with the interest rate of probably around 3.5% for 30 years, which is tremendously financially sound investment on their part. Unless we go into negative interest rates, then that would kind of screw up the whole interest rate equation there. But normally that's a great deal. So all throughout the SBA, you know, if you ever need assistance finding lenders, we have an in-house matchmaking site called Lender Match, which a borrower can go, potential borrower can log in to Lender Match, answer a few questions, hit submit, and then their potential project will then go to a closed ecosystem of SBA lenders. So they're not sending it out there into the ether for every lender to see and then get 100, you know, solicitations and have their inbox flooded. It's going to go directly to lenders in their area that do SBA loans. And so those SBA loan managers at bank, whatever, will get a notice and saying, you know, Joanne is looking for a loan for her bakery for 25,000 for ovens or something. And are you interested? And then the banker will apply yes. And they will then get an email in their inbox saying someone from, you know, bank of the whatever will be contacting you in the next 36 to 48 hours. So it's a great way to link up potential borrowers and SBA lenders. And it's been a very valuable tool for SBA. Obviously, you have the district office, which they could also call, and we could tell them, hey, we have databases where we can go in and also say, oh yeah, here's the list of 20 lenders that did loans to bakeries the last couple of years in North Carolina, and all that is public information. So they could email us and ask us directly if they needed to. And that's been a huge benefit to a lot of folks, just to help get that target a little bit smaller for them. So they're not talking to banks that don't do loans in the industries they're in, or don't do loans to startups or to restaurants, because we all know that banks have niches and industries that they prefer. And, you know, they're kind of businesses too, lending money to make money, but they have markets that they go after and are comfortable lending to. So we can help them decipher that. And lastly, I just want to pitch the SBA government contracting certifications, because if anyone knows that they're, you know, hindsight's 2020, right? Everybody's right now have been talking to us. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. And a lot of them have called saying, I wish I would have got into government contracting sooner to help even out my cash flow, because the government buys $600 billion of products and services a year. And 24% of that is set aside for small businesses, no matter what. And as you know, the government never slows down their spending, right? So it's a constant stream of purchases. So getting into that government contracting market could help alleviate some of the pain that folks are going through when there's a down market or a recession per se, because the government is normally still spending money even when the private sector isn't. And so that might help them balance out their revenue. And so we have women-owned small businesses. We have minority, socially, economically disadvantaged businesses. Hub zone, which are historically underutilized business zone firms that apply for government certification, plus veteran and service disabled veteran. So all those certifications provide a leg up in government contracting world. Big primes want to partner with them. The government wants to partner with them because we know that they're a valuable piece of our economy. And so there's special contracts, set aside contracts that go out for those firms to help them generate jobs and create revenue into their local communities. So that's also through the SBA, and we'd be glad to work with those firms to get started. And then last but not least, we have government the disaster assistance, Office of Disaster Assistance, which we all know is working 7 days a week, and they're providing disaster loans, economic injury disaster loans to millions of small businesses across the country. So Judy and I work probably, a big chunk of our days is working with clients that are applying for disaster loans and working through that process. And it's been a big challenge for the SBA to ramp up something that was not meant for 20+ million small businesses to apply through. But they've done a pretty good job and have ramped up their processing center, call center to the appropriate staffing levels. And now they're really churning these disaster loans out at a good clip. And so if anyone has any problems or has gotten stuck in any of the lines or queues at the disaster loan center, please give us a call and we can help troubleshoot some of those cases for you. But all in all, I hope that this has been a short but educational overview. I know I covered a lot of territory, but I think hopefully it'll give folks a better understanding of what we're working on and how we're trying to help small businesses across the state.
Great. Patrick, I've got a couple questions that folks are asking, and maybe we have time for a couple of them.
Yes, sir.
One is, what are we to expect on the PPP loan forgiveness program? Something that's well sought after, talked about, and often not defined well.
Right. So right now, PPP loan forgiveness is in full swing. SBA has put out all the guidance we have to the lenders who are holding these loans and will be speaking to their PPP borrowers. A lot of them are holding off until kind of the electoral transition was kind of wrapping up. They were really hoping for a blanket forgiveness for loans under, I think, 150,000, but that was never passed. So they just ended up launching their portals, and now they're taking PPP loan forgiveness applications. And feel free to have folks call us and we can walk them through the loan applications. There are 3 different PPP loan forgiveness applications. For folks under 50,000, please use the S or the short. And if it's under, if you're a sole proprietor and you just used your own money to pay yourself and it was over 50,000, I would use the EZ. And then anyone that has multiple employees, they would just use the long form.
Okay, and I think in follow up to that question, somebody's asking, if I receive the PPP loan and was forgiven for it, will that have any impact on my ability to obtain additional grants and or participate in other programs?
Yeah, we don't expect that to on the federal side. So if the PPP round 2 were to be passed by Congress, we're not expecting that to interfere with their ability to take out round 2. That was the whole intent of it. It's the pain points are still out there for these small businesses, and that was the hope that they could go back and get another round.
Sure. Let's see, I think I have one more question here, and that is, with COVID on everyone's mind, what can be done for businesses to keep customers safe without being a burden on the business itself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's like I said, there are a lot of good guides on the CDC website that spell out just best practices, right? So, taking the temperatures of potential, kind of daily health screenings for your employees, because that would be a major concern, making sure your employees are safe and not transmitting anything unintentionally, through touching and breathing within the same building. So face masks, social distancing, improving AC ventilation units, air filters, things like that may be a little bit lower costs. But the CDC does have a number of checklists and guidelines available on their website. And as you know, I think the governor has that executive order out there that helps prevent folks being held liable for potential, health, transmission of COVID. So, that may be some kind of relief, but they still have to be, they still have to have a plan, and they can't be negligent and not providing some sort of notice on their business, saying, please wear a mask, please, please take those social distancing requirements to heart.
Sure. Well, look, I want to thank you for making this presentation. I'd like to turn it over this time to David Ferris, president of our chamber, to kind of close us out.
Thank you, sir.
David, I think you're on mute. But you look like you're saying some really cool stuff.
Well, no, again, thank you, Mayor. And Patrick, thank you for bringing some really timely information to our viewers, to our area. I want to commend again the SBA for all the assistance that you have given, not only the Twin Counties and here in Rocky Mount, but throughout the country. Unprecedented times require excellent leadership, guidance, and pathways, and you have certainly opened your toolbox and the SBA toolbox to all of us, and we thank you for that. I know a lot of you still have probably questions, and if you will get those, I'm sure, to Carrie, we'll try and get you the answers. I know Judy Kay will be here to help, and we can always reach out to Patrick. But again, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. And once again, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce of Rocky Mount, we wish each of you a very joyous and safe holiday season.
Thank you, everyone. I have included Patrick's contact information in the chat box, and I'll leave it there for a moment. But again, you may always email me if I can help, and I will send that information on to the appropriate place. But thanks again.